Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Philadelphia City Council Committee on Streets and Services. I now note that the hour has come, and we like, for the record, note that we do have a quorum. To my left, appointed by Council President Johnson, Anthony Phillips, to Council Member Harity, Council Member Ahmad. I know for the record, quorum, this committee is present, and the hearing is now called to order. This is a public hearing on the Committee on Streets and Services, considering testimony on Bill Number 241081, 241083, 241106, 250007, 250002, 250003, 250004, 250005, 250006, 250007, 250008, 250009, 250046, 250047, 250048, 250049, 250066, 250069, and 250070. Chair now recognizes Councilmember Ahmad for a motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Esquella. At the request of sponsor Councilmember Gautier, I move that Bill Number 250003 be withdrawn.
Second.
It has been moved and properly second that Bill Number 250003 be withdrawn. For all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The opinion of the chair is ayes have it, and the motion carries. Bill Number 250003 has been withdrawn. I would also like to note for the record that Bill Number 241106 is being held at the request of the sponsor. Before we begin, do any of my colleagues have any opening remarks? Seeing none, Mr. Poole, will you please read the title of the first bills?
Bill number 241107, titled Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of North 18th Street between Wood Street and Callowhill Street, Vine Street between North 18th Street and North 19th Street, Callowhill between North 18th Street and North 19th Street, North 17th Street between Callowhill Street and Wood Street, Thompson Street between North 18th Street and North 17th Street, Harold Street between North 22nd Street and North 23rd Street, and also Bill number 250069, titled Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of Waldy Street between Columbia Avenue and Earl Street, Dunton Street between Waldy Street and Girard Avenue, Earl Street between Girard Avenue and Waldy Street, South 7th Street between Johnson Street and Bigler Street, and also Bill number 250070, titled Establishing Parking Regulations in the Vicinity of York Street between Almond Street and Mercer Street, Clarion Street between Dickens Street and Tasker Street, Ellsworth Street between South 7th Street and South 8th Street, Anna Street between Marshall Street and South 7th Street, Ellsworth Street between Passyunk Avenue and South 9th Street, Pierce Street between South 12th Street and South 11th Street, McClellan Street between South 9th Street and South 10th Street, Jackson Street between South 5th Street and South 6th Street, Cross Street between South 5th Street and South 4th Street, South 5th Street between Morris Street and Tasker Street.
Thank you, Mr. Poole. And for the record, too, Councilmember Brooks is present for the hearing. Could you please call the witness to testify on these bills just read into the record?
The first witness to testify is Lester Emerson, Deputy Parking Manager for the Philadelphia Parking Authority.
Thank you. Just state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Good morning, Council. My name is Lester Emerson, Deputy Manager for the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Thank you for allowing me to testify before Council regarding ordinances 241107, 250069, and 250070, establishing parking regulations. The Philadelphia Parking Authority has no objection to the ordinances previously read before Council and recommends a favorable consideration. Thank you again for your time. I'd be happy to respond to any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on those bills? Seeing none. Thank you for your testimony. Can you please read the title of the next bill?
Thank you.
Bill number 250008, titled Authorizing the Vacating of Clarion Street from Addison Street to its terminus northwardly therefrom, and the reserving and plotting upon City Plan number 308 of a right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water main purposes within the lines of said Clarion Street, being vacated and authorizing acceptance of the grant to the city of the said right-of-way under certain terms and conditions.
Can you please call the witness to testify?
The next witnesses to testify are Noel Marconi, Legislative Affairs Director for the Department of Streets, and Sarah Chu, Development Director for the City Planning Commission.
Thank you. Just state your name for the record. Please proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill Number 250008, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Kristen Dazell of Counter Management LLC on behalf of Keepach House, Pico Energy Company, and Brennan Izzard. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to authorize the vacating of Clarion Street from Addison Street to its terminus approximately 52 feet northwesterly therefrom. This portion of Clarion Street is just 20 feet wide with only a 6.5 feet wide cartway and extends only a short distance to a dead end. It is not plotted on the city plan, but is legally open for the public use per a deed dedication made in 1847. A right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes and water main purposes will be preserved in the bed of Clarion Street to provide for the existing public water and sewer lines, which will remain in place. This action has been requested by the abutting property owners so that they may better secure this area against littering, and other illicit and illegal activities. Department of Streets has no objections to this proposed ordinance and recommends it to the committee for favorable action. I thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. Be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chiu, City Planning Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill Number 250008, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on January 23rd, 2025. This bill will authorize the vacating of Clarion Street from Addison Street to its terminus and reserving and plotting on city plan a right-of-way for sewer drainage and water main purposes within the lines of a said Clarion Street. The abutting neighbors requested this action to better secure their properties. The Planning Commission at its meeting on February 20th, 2025 recommended Bill Number 250008 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on this bill? Seeing none. Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill Number 250046, titled Authorizing the Opening of a Right-of-Way to the Public on Land near the intersection of the southeasterly side of Bass Street and the southwesterly side of Victoria Streets, all being land owned by the city.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill Number 250046, introduced by Councilmember Driscoll. This is an administration ordinance requested by Mary Jo Markle of the Deputy Solicitor of the Law Department. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to authorize the opening as a public right-of-way of a portion of city-owned land located at the intersection of the southeasterly side of Bass Street and the southwesterly side of Victoria Street. This action is related to PennDOT's ongoing reconstruction of the I-95 Delaware Expressway. As part of the I-95 work, a new exit ramp, Ramp F, from northbound I-95 to Castor Avenue will be constructed. This new ramp will pass near the intersection of Bath and Victoria Streets, and the required soil embankment will obliterate a portion of an existing intersection. In order to maintain the connection between these two streets, PennDOT will reconstruct portions of Bath Street and Victoria Streets as a curved roadway rather than existing right-angle intersection. This new curved roadway will encroach into the city-owned property at this location and require the encroached upon portion of the property to become part of the public right-of-way. The Department of Streets has no objections to this proposed ordinance and recommends it to the committee for favorable action. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. Be pleased to answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chiu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill Number 250046, introduced by Councilmembers Driscoll on January 20th, 2025. This bill will authorize the opening of a right-of-way to the public on the land near the intersection of Bass Street and Victoria Street. Bill Number 100679 previously authorized the Streets Department to make revisions to city plans at this intersection to conform the street's conditions after I-95 reconstruction project. The Planning Commission reviewed this action at its meeting on November 16, 2010, recommended approval for this bill. Therefore, at the meeting on February 20th, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended Bill Number 250046 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 250046? Seeing none, Mr. Pullen, can you please read the title of the next bill?
Bill number 241081, titled Authorizing Encroachments in the Nature of a Sidewalk Cafe in the vicinity of 229 South 45th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19104, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noel Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 241081, introduced by Councilmember Gauthier. This bill authorizes Tedley Abraham, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at Abyssinia located at 229 South 45th Street. A total of 5 tables and 11 seats for a sidewalk cafe will be located along the east sidewalk of South 45th Street and the north sidewalk of Locust Street along the property line of 229 South 45th Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe as it will maintain 6 feet of unobstructed footway. This concludes my testimony, and please answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planning Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 241081, introduced by Councilmember Gauthier on November 21st, 2024. This bill will allow a sidewalk cafe at 229 South 45th Street. A minimum of 6 feet clear sidewalk space on 45th Street and Locust Street will remain after installation. This meets the minimum required dimensions of the complete street policy of the Philadelphia Code. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on December 5th, 2024, recommended Bill number 241081 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? Seeing none, anyone here else to testify on bill number 241081? Thank you for your testimony. Nobody. Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 241083, titled Authorizing Encroachments in the Nature of a Sidewalk Cafe in the vicinity of 1148 through 50th South 11th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19147, under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noel Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 241083, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This bill authorizes Alcohol Properties, LLC, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at Bacon located at 1148-50 South 11th Street. A total of 4 tables and 14 seats for a sidewalk cafe will be located along the west sidewalk of South 11th Street and the south sidewalk of Ellsworth Street along the property line of 1148-50 South 11th Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe as it will maintain 6 feet of unobstructed footway. This concludes my testimony. Please answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 241083, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on November 21st, 2024. This bill will allow a sidewalk cafe at 1148-50 South 11th Street. A minimum of 6 feet of clear sidewalk spaces to remain after the installation on Ellsworth Street, and a minimum of 7 feet and 5 inches of sidewalk space will remain after installation on 11th Street. This meets the minimum required dimension of the complete street policy of the Philadelphia Code. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on December 5th, 2024, recommended Bill number 241083 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on 241083? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 250002, titled Authorizing Various Encroachments in the Vicinity of 546 South 45th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19104, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noel Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 25002, introduced by Councilmember Gauthier. This bill authorizes Theodore Topolitas and Penelope Topolitas, the owners, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe and planters at a Leaf Brew and Mini Mart located at 546 South 46th Street. The proposed encroachments include 2 proposed planters and a proposed sidewalk cafe with a total of 8 tables and 16 seats that will be located along the north footway of Baltimore Avenue, along the property line of 546 South 45th Street, and the west footway of South 45th Street, along the property line of 546 South 45th Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to these proposed planters and sidewalk cafe, as it will maintain 9 feet of unobstructed footway. This concludes my testimony. Please answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 250002, introduced by Councilmember Gautier on January 23rd, 2025. This bill will allow sidewalk cafe and planter encroachment at 546 South 45th Street. A minimum of 9 feet clear sidewalk space on 45th Street and Baltimore Avenue will remain after installation. This meets the minimum requirement dimension of the complete street policy of the Philadelphia Code. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on February 20th, 2025, recommended Bill number 250002 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 250002? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 250009, titled Authorizing Encroachments in the Nature of a Sidewalk Cafe in the Vicinity of 542 Christian Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19147, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 250009, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This bill authorizes 542 Christian Street Associates, LLC, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at Shot Tower Coffee located at 542 Christian Street. A total of 5 tables, 3 benches, and 10 seats for a sidewalk cafe will be located along the east sidewalk of South 6th Street, along the property line of 542 Christian Street, and the south sidewalk of Christian Street, along the property line of 542 Christian Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe, as it will maintain 6 feet of unobstructed footway. This concludes my testimony. Please answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 250009, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on January 23rd, 2025. This bill will allow a sidewalk cafe at 542 Christian Street. A minimum of 6 feet of clear sidewalk space will remain on South 6th Street and Christian Street after installation, meeting the complete street policy. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on February 20th, 2025, recommended Bill number 250009 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 250009? Seeing none, Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 250047, titled Authorizing Encroachments in the Nature of a Sidewalk Cafe in the Vicinity of 1525 South 9th Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19147, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 250047, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This bill authorizes Cross Real Estate LLC and Michael Farina LLC, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at Grumpy's Tavern located at 1525 South 9th Street. A total of 4 tables and 7 seats for a sidewalk cafe will be located along the east sidewalk of South 9th Street, along the property line of 1525 South 9th Street, and along the north sidewalk of Cross Street, along the property line of 1525 South 9th Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe, as it will maintain 6 feet of unobstructed footway on the east sidewalk of South 9th Street and 5 feet 6 inches along the sidewalk of Cross Street. This concludes my testimony. Please answer any questions you may have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 250047, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on January 30th, 2025. This bill will allow Sidewalk Cafe to be located at 1525 South 9th Street. A minimum of 5 feet 6 inches of clear sidewalk space is to remain after installation, meeting complete street policy. Therefore, at its meeting on February 20th, 2025, the Planning Commission recommended the bill number 250047 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 250047? Thank you. Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 250048, titled Authorizing Encroachments in the Nature of a Sidewalk Cafe in the Vicinity of 2049 East Hager Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19125, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on bill number 250048, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This bill authorizes 2049 Haggard LLC, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at Little Walters, located at 2049 Haggard Street. A total of 1 table and 2 seats will be located adjacent to the building line of 2049 East Haggard Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe, as it will maintain 6 feet of unobstructed footway. This concludes my testimony, and pleased to answer any questions you have.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 250048, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on January 30th, 2025. This bill will allow a sidewalk cafe to be located at 2049 East Haggard Street. A minimum of 6 feet of clear sidewalk space is to remain after installation, meeting complete street policy. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on February 20th, 2025, recommended bill number 250048 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 250048? Seeing none, Mr. Pullen, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 250049, titled Authorizing Various Encroachments in the Vicinity of 1625 South 2nd Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania 19148, under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on bill number 250049, introduced by Councilmember Squilla. This bill authorizes Bertha Mary Jung and Helen M. Otto, the owner, to install, own, and maintain encroachments in the nature of a sidewalk cafe at O'Jung's Tavern Bar, located at 1625 South 2nd Street. A total of 6 tables and 16 seats for a sidewalk cafe, along with 4 planters, will be located along the east sidewalk of South 2nd Street and along the property line of 1625 South 2nd Street, and the north sidewalk of Farron Street along the property line of 1625 South 2nd Street. Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed sidewalk cafe and planters, as it will maintain a minimum of 5 feet 5 inches along Farron Street and a maximum of 8 feet of unobstructed footway on South 2nd Street. This concludes my testimony, and please answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Fernan Street.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner Manager with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on bill number 250049, introduced by Councilmember Squilla on January 30th, 2025. This bill will allow a sidewalk cafe and planters to be located at 1625 South 2nd Street. A minimum of 5 feet 5 inches of clear sidewalk space is to remain after installation, meeting the complete street policy. The Planning Commission, at its meeting on February 20th, 2025, recommended bill number 250049 for approval. I'll be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 250049? Seeing none, Mr. Pullen, can you please read the title of the next bill?
Bill number 250004, titled Amending an Ordinance, Bill number 230577, approved November 13th, 2023, entitled Granting Permission to Winfield Overbrook Rove Association in order to demarcate the boundaries of a Winfield Overbrook Rove district to construct and maintain a clear nylon cord and other ancillary facilities, including a maximum of 100 poles and 45 pieces of plexiglass along, over, and in certain public rights-of-way and city streets, and/or to attach such demarcation facilities to existing facilities owned by other entities authorized by other city ordinances, subject to such owner's consent, all under certain terms and conditions, by extending the period for compliance with the terms and conditions stated therein.
Please state your name and for the record, proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Noelle Marconi, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill Number 250004, introduced by Councilmember Jones. This legislation amends Bill Number 230577, which was approved November 13, 2023, to allow the Winfield Overbrook Arove Association additional time to comply with the requirements of the bill. The legislation allows the Winfield Overbrook Arove to demarcate the boundaries of a Winfield Overbrook Arove district to construct and maintain a clear nylon cord and other ancillary facilities, including a maximum of 100 poles and 45 pieces of plexiglass along, over, and in certain public rights-of-way and city streets, and are attached to such demarcation facilities to existing facilities owned by other entities authorized by other city ordinances, subject to the owner's consent. The approximate territory bounded by the Arove boundaries is the area between Upland Way on the south, Belmont Avenue on the north, City Avenue on the west, and the train tracks for the Septic and Wood Line on the east. The Department of Streets is not opposed to this proposed Arove so long as all the agreements with the appropriate city departments are executed by the new date of compliance, September 19, 2025, and substantial construction be completed by March 31st, 2027. This concludes my testimony. Please answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill Number 250004? Seeing none, Mr. Pullen, could you please read the title of the next bill?
Bill Number 250005, titled Amending Chapter 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes, to authorize a bicycle lane on North 22nd Street from Spring Garden Street to Green Street, and remove a travel lane on North 22nd Street within the same limits, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Pullen. Could you please read the people to testify?
The next witness to testify is Ann Kelly, Senior Policy Advisor for the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Anna Kelly. I'm a Senior Policy Advisor for EV and Parking at the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems, or OTIS. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill Number 250005, sponsored by Councilmember Young. This bill amends Title 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code, entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes, to authorize a bicycle lane on North 22nd Street between Spring Garden and Green Street, and the removal of a travel lane within the same limits, all under certain terms and conditions. This project will allow for the extension of the current 22nd Street bike lane from Spring Garden north to Fairmount Avenue, though the travel lane will only need to be removed up to Green Street. The bike lane will be separated from travel lanes by parked vehicles. Data shows that separated bike lanes can calm driver speeds and reduce crashes by 17%. This project has the support of the Bicycle Coalition, Spring Garden Civic Association, and Fairmount Civic Association. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Are you going to testify?
Yes, a member of the public.
All right, state your name for the record.
Okay,
Proceed.
great. Good afternoon, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name's Alicia Hussey. I'm a longtime member of the Fairmount neighborhood here in Philadelphia, and I'm testifying today in support of Ordinance 250005 to authorize a bike lane on North 22nd Street from Spring Garden to Green Street and remove a travel lane in the same area. The number one reason that I'm here today is that in November of 2023, my then 2-year-old daughter and I, Rose, were in a collision upon exiting the bike lane to cross over Spring Garden at 22nd Street heading northbound. A car was turning right onto Spring Garden, and the driver did not look into either the bike lane or the crosswalk before she immediately sped up with the light change and turned eastbound onto Spring Garden Street. Luckily, Rose and I were both wearing helmets, and she was safely strapped into her seat. But I ride that same lane to this day with fear. Rose still says to me, "Mom, we aren't going to fall down today." I'd say that's pretty profound for a now 3-year-old. The memory lives in her head and in mine. I have thought since that day that if the bike lane extended across the intersection, it could have signaled the driver to yield on the turn. That extension is exactly what this ordinance is asking for. As a resident of the area, this and all bike lanes are especially important to me because my family has become avid bikers, riding over 5,000 miles on our e-bikes in the past 2 years. Biking is an efficient and fun way to travel our beloved city, and we should be able to do that as safely as possible. We're also a family who's committed to living in the city long term, and as my daughters grow up, I'd love for them to be able to travel by bike as well. With our current infrastructure, I feel that might not be possible. Our experience on 22nd didn't stop us from being bikers, but it made us want to advocate to make our city more fit for them. I encourage the committee to vote in favor for ordinance 250005. Thank you for your time today, and I truly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for your testimony and your story. It's much appreciated. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else out there to testify? Come on up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, council members. My name is Bill West. I'm a long-term resident of the Rittenhouse area. And for longer than I care to remember, I've been involved in the reform of the city's streets. Long enough to remember that this is not the first time the 22nd Street bike lane extension has been proposed. And I'm very happy to hear that it's being actively considered again. I would also like to say that I am greatly in favor of the southbound lane on 23rd Street that I have been working very hard in my neighborhood to get adopted, and I'm very glad to hear that we're also going to get it further north. So I want to thank the committee, and I want to thank the council for considering these very important steps forward. Thank you.
Any questions of members of the committee? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Gotcha. Mr. Pullen, would you please call the witnesses to testify on the next bill, 250005? 006, excuse me.
Bill number 250006, titled amending Chapter 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize a bicycle lane on North 13th Street from Cecil B. Moore Avenue to Diamond Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Pullen. Would you please call the name of the next witness?
The next witness to testify is Anna Kelly, Senior Policy Advisor for the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Young and members of the Streets and Services Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Anna Kelly. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for EV and Parking at the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems. I'm here today to offer testimony in support of Bill number 250006, sponsored by Councilmember Young. This bill amends Title 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize a bicycle lane on North 13th Street from Cecil B. Moore Avenue to Diamond Street, all under certain terms and conditions. This project was developed in coordination with Temple University and will expand the city's existing high-quality bike network by extending the 13th Street bike lane north through Temple's campus. The project includes a partnership with Temple University to install planters between the flex posts, establishing the bike lane, making this segment of the city's bike network both safer and greener. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. I do have one question. Is there anyone from Temple University here to testify on this bill? No? Okay. From Temple? Yeah, I'm sorry, are you from Temple University?
No.
No, okay, yes, I was asking to see if anyone from Temple was here to testify on the bill. Can you just talk to us about the placement of this bike lane in conjunction to where Temple has their the vendors and how it would impact any vendors along 13th Street?
Yes, that's a great question. I can get more detailed information to you about that. I know that this project has come about through an extensive partnership with Temple, so I know they've talked about all those things, but I can get you more information about that specific question.
Thank you. All right. Are there any other questions from members of the committee on this bill? Seeing none, is there anyone else who would like to testify on bill number 250006? 250006. Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Mr. Pullen, would you please read the title of the next bill to be heard?
Bill number 250007, titled amending Chapter 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize a bicycle lane on North 23rd Street between Ray Street and Market Street under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Mr. Pullen, please read the name of the next witness to testify on
The next
this
witness
bill.
to testify is Anna Kelly, Senior Policy Advisor for the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems.
Good afternoon, Chairperson Young and members of the Streets and Services Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Anna Kelly. I'm the Senior Policy Advisor for EV and Parking at the Office of Transportation and Infrastructure Systems. I'm here today to offer testimony on Bill number 250007, sponsored by Councilmember Young. This bill amends Title 12-701 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Designation of Bicycle Lanes to authorize a bicycle lane on North 23rd Street between Ray Street and Market Street and removal of a travel lane within the same limits, all under certain terms and conditions. This bike lane will fill an existing gap in the city's high-quality bike network, serving as a connection to the Schuylkill Trail, Market Street bike lanes, and the future bikeway to be implemented as part of the upcoming Market Street Bridge reconstruction. Otis has completed a corridor traffic study on the corridor and found that there will be minimal traffic impacts resulting from the removal of the travel lane required for the installation of the bike lane. We have also received support from the community for this project, including the Logan Square Neighborhood Association. Thank you for the opportunity to appear before you today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have at this time.
Thank you. Could you tell us, I guess in a little bit more detail, how this bike lane connects to the Schuylkill Trail and provides that access to folks along the trail?
Yeah, so the Schuylkill Trail lies just west of the location of where this bike lane will be, and we did extensive traffic studies at that intersection and saw that there were many folks who were coming up from the Schuylkill River Trail onto this corridor without a bike lane to connect to. So that was part of the reason that this project is moving forward, to make sure that connection is strong.
Thank you. And can you talk to us about if there will be any loss of service along the 23rd Street corridor because of the installation of this bike lane?
Our traffic study showed there may be minimal impacts, but I'm happy to get you more information about any other specific services.
Thank you. Chair recognizes Councilmember Ahmad.
Hi. Can you speak to the economic cost of putting these bike lanes, approximate?
Yeah, so I'd be happy to get you specific numbers. Typically, the way that these projects move forward is we have either budgeted for them in the Otis budget, or we also pursue grant funding for them. So for that reason, the price can vary, also depending on the type of bike lane that's installed, whether it's flex posts or parking separated, whatever it may be. But I would be happy to provide information about this specific one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions of this witness on bill number 250007? Seeing none, is there anyone else in the chamber looking to testify on bill number 250007? Please come up to the witness table and state your name for the record and begin with any testimony.
Good afternoon, Chair Young, members of the committee. My name is Job Itzkowitz. I'm here to testify in my personal capacity. I know that I've testified before this committee on these issues many times, but this time I didn't write anything, so I promise I will be brief. I commute by bike. I live in Point Breeze. I work in Old City, as you know. I drive my daughter to school, bike my daughter to school. This is her helmet. I did that today. I'm picking her up after school and biking home. On the weekends, however, I take her to visit her grandparents, who are 5th District residents. They live in the Philadelphian. If you haven't been to the Philadelphian, Councilmember Young, I know you have, but if you haven't been to the Philadelphian, it's about 2,000 residents. Bike room is overflowing. I once busted a tire and parked my bike there for a week without permission. It got taken away by security because they needed room for more bikes. Some people might tell you that, these bike lanes don't impact that many people. There aren't that many riders. But I will tell you, my parents who are in their 80s do not ride bikes, but they are thrilled when I can get to their house safely carrying my daughter on that northbound 22nd Street bike lane. And they would be devastated if we couldn't get home safely. And so every time we add a couple of lanes, it helps build the network to keep not just the people who are riding bikes safe, but keep them safe for the benefit of their loved ones and for the city as a whole. So thank you, Councilmember Young, for introducing not just this one, but all 3 bills. I did bike to Temple in the fall, and 13th Street is this great opportunity, and then there's some gaps, and it helps fill in those gaps. So I'm happy to answer any questions, but I just wanted to put that on the record. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, Job. Are there any questions of this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else in this chamber looking to testify on bill number 250007? Seeing, we have someone on this bill or for public comment? So we have public comment session as well, if they want to comment on public comment. Okay, so we're going to now transition to our public comment section. Mr. Pullen, would you please call the first speakers for public comment? We do have a list for folks for public comment, unless you're testifying on bill number 250007 specifically.
No, this is public comment.
Yes, public comment.
Okay, great.
Yeah, so the next speakers on public are Jared Johnson, Deb Horing, and Dustin Dove.
Thank you. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Oh, thanks. Good afternoon, Chair Young and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Jared Johnson. I am a volunteer and advocate for Fifth Square. I am testifying in support of the following bill number 25007 regarding the protection and separation of bike lanes at 23rd Street between Race Street and Market Street. With the 30th Street station nearby and the addition of new buildings and housings in that area, along with the current existing buildings and housings and high-rises, this section has become a busy corridor and is a possible hotspot for injuries involving bicyclists, pedestrians, and drivers, with no protection for bike riders at all along that intersection. Like the incident involving the unfortunate passing of Dr. Freitas, it only takes one mistake to alter a life and alter their friends' and family's life as well. As a resident of Philadelphia, installing bike lanes are important to me because many people from Fifth Square are bike riders. They've been like family since I joined and taught me the details of urban planning, and we've also done events and other things with them, as well as being good friends, and they took me as I am. I would hate for any of them to suffer serious injury or death because of any failures to install bike lanes. Just think what you would do if you had a family member, a friend, or a coworker who ride a bike every once in a while. What if something would happen to that person? How would you feel? Now, think of life without that person because bike lanes were not installed. Today, this is the reason why I'm speaking up to install and separate bike lanes in the area at 23rd Street between Race Street and Market Street. Doing this procedure will make bike riders, pedestrians, and drivers think ahead, slow down, and be alert. And not to mention, it will connect other existing bike lanes, giving more bicyclists more options and paths to travel, which will make it even safer for bicyclists. I encourage the committee to vote in favor of bill number 250007. It will benefit a lot of riders, it'll benefit drivers, it'll benefit pedestrians, it'll benefit everyone within the city of Philadelphia. It will do that family member, a coworker of yours, or a friend a favor. It can even save their life. Thank you for the opportunity for me to speak on this behalf.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Would you please proceed with your testimony?
Good afternoon, Chairperson Young and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Deb Hong. I'm a resident of District 5 and a member of Fifth Square and Philly Bike Action. I'd like to thank Chairperson Young, my council representative, for sponsoring these 3 bike lane bills, and I am commenting specifically on 250006 for North 13th Street. One of the problems cyclists in our city face is navigating north-south, especially over large and fast roads like Vine Street that separate our city. There's no good option for cyclists going north from Center City between 3rd and 11th Street. 13th Street provides a way to cross Vine Street, and although to be clear, it is not very safe with only paint separating the bike lane from vehicular traffic at that crossing. Nevertheless, biking on 13th Street is better than the surrounding roads, and extending the bike lane from Cecil B. Moore to Diamond means that more people can access this amenity. I also encourage the committee to consider expanding bike lanes into more neighborhoods as a matter of equality. Everyone, no matter where they live in our city, deserves to have a safe way to travel. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for your testimony. Sir, please state your name for the record and begin with your comment.
Sure. Thank you, Chair Young. Good afternoon, Chair Young and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Dustin Dove. I live in Fairmount, and I am the Vice President of the Fairmount Civic Association. I'm testifying today specifically in support of Ordinance 25005, but also in support of all 3 bike lanes that are up for consideration today. I can state from near daily personal experience that 22nd Street, as currently designed, is unsafe for all users of the street: pedestrians, cyclists, drivers, and transit users. Creating bike lanes along this route will give anyone using the street a safer experience because it will keep pedestrians, cyclists, and drivers and buses in their own lanes, especially the separated lane that's proposed. I understand that Ordinance 25005 on 22nd Street authorizes the removal of a travel lane for a separated bike lane, which I support. I would also wish to extend my support for the bike lane to continue to Brown Street, which I know is outside the scope of this ordinance. This option was overwhelmingly supported in the neighborhood and in a vote at a recent Fairmount Civic Association meeting on this topic, especially from families that attend Bache Martin School, which is at the intersection of 22nd and Brown. I know also that the Fairmount Civic Association President Tim Butters did a fairly thorough canvass of residents of 22nd Street and couldn't find anyone who was opposed and only found people who were in support. All 3 of these proposed lanes help expand our existing, albeit small, network of bike lanes, which give all Philadelphians the ability to get around by bike in a safe manner. I would like to humbly make 2 additional requests of City Council in this committee. First, please work with the administration to identify additional routes to expand the bike network throughout the city. These lanes are often expanded in neighborhoods like mine where residents have the time and the connections to advocate for them, but all Philadelphians deserve to be able to get around the city safely. Second, no Philadelphian outside of this building probably moves around this city thinking about what councilmanic district they live in, and yet street safety planning so often comes down to council district lines. Please work to dismantle this system and ensure that planning decisions like bike lanes or other road safety improvements can be enacted citywide rather than council district by council district. The sooner we do this, the more lives we will save. I also want to thank Anna for her testimony. I know from personal experience, as I said, 22nd Street is dangerous. Crossing my daughter on a daily basis in her stroller. I haven't done the bike yet, but because she's pretty young, but it's really dangerous. So thank you for testifying there. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Any questions for any of these panelists here? Seeing none, I'd just like to add, if anyone had written testimony, could you please submit it to Jawad Pullen, just so we can have it for our record as well. Thank you. Are there any other folks here looking to testify, to make a public comment? Mr. Pullen, can you please read the next names?
Mark Miola, Adrian Valonis, and Jeffrey Gund.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Mark Miola, resident of Logan Square, and I'm here to speak in support of the East Bike Lane, 2005 and 6 and 7. Thank you for the existing network of bike lanes. When I first moved here, there were hardly any bike lanes in the late 90s. And my first job here was at Temple University, and I would bike there and back, and I would take 12th Street home, and I would have to ride on a little strip of asphalt between the trolley tracks and the parked cars. And one day, as I was riding, a person in the parked car opened their door, and I went flying into the middle of the street. Luckily, I had a helmet. Luckily, no cars were coming. But this, to me, is the importance of bike lanes in general, and protected bike lanes are even better. So I want to support all of these ordinances, and particularly the 1007. This one is in my neighborhood. I live at 21st and Arch, and currently there's no easy way to get south from where I live. 21st Street is a very busy street with a lot of traffic, and this would be a great way to get to Market Street, to get to University of Penn, which I do a lot, and any place south. It does provide access to the Schuylkill River Trail when there is a train blocking the Race Street entrance. So if there's a train there, you have to go around, and I just think it would be a great place for a bike lane, and I definitely support the other two bike lanes, so thank you for considering that.
Thank you for your testimony, please.
My name is Adrian Valonis. Thank you, Councilmember and Chair Jeffrey Young, for introducing the three bike lane bills, 250005, 6, and 7. I'm a member of Philly Bike Action on the board of directors, but I'm speaking in a personal capacity as a resident of Philadelphia. Other public commenters have stated the importance of bike lanes for personal safety, getting around the city. I'd like to reiterate that and also emphasize the significance of bicycles as a cheap, inexpensive and accessible way for residents of the city to get around. In my free time, I volunteer to teach GED mathematics to people who are incarcerated, and something that they have recommended and asked for and been happy about is the ability to get around Philadelphia cheaply. They're excited to ride bikes, and I know that bike lanes like the one on 13th Street, 22nd Street, and 23rd Street are a very good way for people to get around. It helps the economic development of the city a lot, and so thank you to the Streets and Services Committee for considering these bills.
Hello, my name is Devin Thiassian. I'm a resident in Brewerytown. This is my first time giving testimony here. It comes a week after my first real crash in the city on Gerard Avenue going over the trolley tracks. It made me think more about these bike lanes and the value they can provide when, in my case, I was very lucky that there was no car behind me, next to me, and that buffer that a bike lane can provide can be especially important in those kinds of incidents where 1 second you're on a bike and the next you're on the ground. On 13th Street, I commute to the Temple train station over there on 11th, and will be shifting my commute over to 13th due to the danger of those exposed tracks on 13th north of Cecil Moore. And on 22nd Street, the narrow lanes north of Spring Garden cause buses and vehicles to pass by very closely to you. And I'm hopeful that if these bills pass, it will provide a bit more space for everyone to pass through that area. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you so much for your testimony here today. Are there any questions of any witnesses who testified? I'm sorry, sir.
Okay.
Please state your name for the record and begin with your testimony.
Good afternoon, committee members. My name is Jeffrey Gund, and I live in Spring Garden. As a resident of District 5 and a cyclist, I want to thank my council member, Committee Chair Young, for introducing bills 250005, 6, and 7 to implement new bike lanes in our district. I have friends and loved ones in my neighborhood, including my wife, who would love to bike to commute to work and to get around in general, but don't do so because of previous unsafe biking experiences in the city. They very reasonably fear for their safety, and these bike lanes directly address those concerns. Beyond providing the critical protection for cyclists, the lanes will encourage more residents to choose cycling over driving, as other commenters have mentioned, which will also help to reduce congestion, lower emissions, and make the city in general safer and healthier. Whether people realize it or not, bike lanes benefit everyone who lives in the city, regardless of whether they cycle. So I respectfully ask the committee to approve these bills and continue to work to expand Philly's bike lane network, particularly with separated, protected bike lanes. By investing in our bike lanes, we're investing in the long-term well-being, health, and connectivity of the entire city. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Downey, for your testimony. Are there any other speakers for public comment? Seeing none, I would like to thank you all today, particularly the witnesses and those who came down to testify for joining us. We will now end the public hearing and go into the public meeting. I will note for the record that a quorum of the committee is present. The quorum consists of Councilmember Harity, Councilmember Brooks, Councilmember Bass, Councilmember Ahmad, along with myself. And the chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 241107.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 241107 24107. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move that this amendment to Bill number 24107 be adopted.
Is there a second? Second. Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 241107 be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. 241107 has been adopted. The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 250007.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 250007. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 250007 be adopted. Second.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 250007 be adopted. All those in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to Bill number 250007 has been adopted. Chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 250046.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 250046. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 250046 be adopted.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 250046 be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The amendment to Bill number 250046 has been adopted. Chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 250009.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 250009. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 250009 be adopted.
Second. Thank you. It's been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 250009 be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to Bill number 250009 has been adopted.
No, just for the record, I just wanted to make a notice that 250066 that we called, that was going to be read today was not read and heard at the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 250047.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 250047. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 250047 be adopted.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 250047 be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to Bill number 250047 has been adopted. Chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on the amendment to Bill number 250048.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 250048. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee. I move that the amendment to Bill number 250048 be adopted.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded that an amendment to Bill number 250048 be adopted. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it. The motion carries and the amendment to Bill number 250048 has been adopted. The chair recognizes Councilmember Brooks for a motion on Bill numbers 241081, 241083, 241107 as amended, 250002, 250004, 250005, 250006, 250007 as amended, 250008, 250009 as amended, 250046 as amended, 250047 as amended, 250048 as amended, 250049, 250069, and 25070.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that all bills read into the record be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of these bills at next session of council.
Thank you. It has been moved and properly seconded that all bills read into the record be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and that further move that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading of these bills at the next session of council. All in favor of the motion will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, ayes have it. The motion carries. Bill number 241081, 241083, 241107 as amended, 250002, 250004, 250005, 250006, 250007 as amended, 250008, 250009 as amended, 250046 as amended, 250047 as amended, 250048 as amended, 250049, 250069, and 250070 will be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation with a request that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at the next session of council. Are there any members wishing to make final remarks in this committee? Seeing none, thank you. This concludes the business before the Streets and Services Committee today. Thank you for everyone for their attendance.
Great job, team.